Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Off-Axis Builds. Tonight I'm going to go over how I put my front air shock control valve together and the reason why I did this, okay? This is basically what it looks like. I didn't film it putting it together, but I will go over all the little pieces on this and the reason why I did it, okay? I also have one other thing I wanted to show you guys. I made this cool little bracket, or I guess wind deflector, for the roof rack. I didn't actually video building it, but in any case, I have it here. I do need to mount it on. It's going to kind of be a little wind deflector, more of a detail on the front. So anyways, this is what I have for the front. Nice cool little thing that stands off about a half an inch. This was originally a taillight cover for a Jeep. What I did was I cut off the top part for, I think it was the reverse light. Yeah, I think so. Cut that part off and then drilled some new holes, made it to the size I wanted, because basically all I wanted was this star to kind of go with the theme of the car. And then also painted it red with a little black speckle in there. So it's kind of cool. I'll show you it installed at another date. Tonight I'm not actually going to have it installed. As you can see, I have my hood on top of the car, so it really wouldn't make sense to put it up there and, you know, try to see how this looks. So we'll see it another date. Alright guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that little bell for upcoming notifications of my newest video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Help me out and join me on this build. Alright guys. Alright guys, I want to try to explain what I did with this control valve, okay? The idea behind it, I know it looks really complicated. It's really not. But the idea behind this is most air shock systems that share the front system or share the back system, usually they're not independent of each other. Unless you go all out and you make each corner independent, you can, you know, tweak it in any direction you want to go. I actually want to be able to run the same air pressure on both fronts and not have any differential in air pressure on either side. So the reason why I went with this setup is so that when you're hard cornering, you don't get that air movement from that outside tire to the inside tire. Most conventional shocks put more pressure on that tire that's using the shock. So they're like a progressive shock. When you go to put pressure on that outside tire, it actually pushes back and keeps pressure on that tire to keep the tire planted. In most air systems, however, when you're driving and you're cornering that outside tire, that air is going to transfer to the inside tire, and you'll actually get more body roll, which that I really don't want. So the reason why I went with this is so I can control the two sides and have them actually put proper pressure on each side. So let's go ahead and start with the top of this and explain how this system works and what I did here. So air will actually come in through here. Okay, it's going to come from the tank that's sitting above it. Okay, air will come in, okay, and go through the system. This little port right here will actually go to the compressor, okay? The compressor is actually controlled by a pressure switch, okay? So when the tank gets below 90, the pressure switch will kick on and turn the compressor on. Okay. Once the compressor fills the tank up to 120, it will turn it off, and then the tanks obviously will remain at 120. That will work whether or not I have, whether or not I'm using the system or not. It'll constantly keep that tank at 120. Okay. So moving on, what we have here is air is going to come in the tank. It's going to hit this solenoid valve. Okay, the solenoid valve will be controlled by the switch on my dash. Okay, I have one switch that I can press up, and the same switch when I press down will actually let the air out of the shocks. So when I press up, this solenoid will turn on and allow air to pass through. Okay, it'll allow air to go into this aluminum block, and I'll explain a little more about that in a sec. It'll also allow air to come up through this valve right here, or not valve, but fitting. That fitting will actually go towards a gauge I have on my dash to tell me what pressure I'm running in my front shocks. Okay, so it kind of gives me an idea. 90 psi might be somewhere about 2 inches off the ground. 100 psi might be somewhere around 4 inches off the ground. So I'll have to play around with that and figure out, where I want it and then what psi I want to run it at. That'll all be determined about how much weight I have in the car too. Okay, so moving on, this aluminum block is separated into two sections. I have the top section and then I have a lower section. The top section is the fill section. The lower section will be the dump section. Okay, so air will come through here into here, and then it'll actually continue into this line here and this line here. Okay, this is where the two lines will become separate. I have two check valves in here. Okay, these check valves will not allow this air from this tire and this air from this tire to interact with each other. Okay, the only point that they can interact is right here. Okay, so once I fill it up, let's say 100 psi, both tires are going to have 100. It will no longer be able to transfer to the other side. Okay, air will come down. It's going to come through here, out this side, out this side. Okay, it'll fill the tires or air shocks. When I want to dump it, these two solenoids will turn on. Okay, which will allow the air to come back through these two lines. Okay, up here and through these solenoid valves. Okay, once it goes through those solenoid valves, it's going to come in here and dump out the bottom. Okay, originally I was going to run this to the back of the car, and I do have an air line underneath the car that runs to right behind the engine. The reason for that is because I didn't want to hear the noise of the air going, exhausting out underneath the car. So I set it up this way. I figured we'll give the muffler a try and just see how it sounds. If I don't like it, I can always send it down that line. Not a big deal. I have another video on that too, where I installed 4 lines under the car protected by a skid plate. I have one air line, gas line, brake line, and hydraulic clutch line underneath the car. So go back and check out that video. It's a pretty cool one. I also put some underglow lights on that skid plate. So check out that video as well if you're interested. But anyways, getting back to this. It looks more difficult than it actually is. More complicated than it should be, I guess. But it's going to do what I need it to do. I'm pretty happy with it. Now I just need to find a good location to install it. Right now, after I get all the steering back in, I'm going to try to install it directly underneath the air tank. Hopefully there's some room in there. I think there will be. If not, I can figure out another location. Mount it right to the bottom of the gas tank, air tank plate that I have. Or I could even put it inside of the hood section. I'd rather try to hide it. I know it looks really cool, but I'd rather try to hide it because I don't want a lot in that hood section. I just want it to be the 3 tanks, and that's that. So we'll figure that out. Anyways, guys, that was my thought with this. You guys can do it differently. There's more than one way to plumb these cars for air shocks. This is just the way I went with it, alright? So Remember to hit that little bell for upcoming notifications on my newest videos. Check those out. Go back and check out some of my old videos. You know, and remember, guys, it's always built, not bought. We'll see you on the next one, guys.